Ladies and gents, Ratatouille, low country style. Ratatouille is a traditional French vegetable stew. And there's different variations of this dish, and I'm making my own variation of it with okra and shrimp. So in the skillet here, I added 1 onion, a green bell pepper that I diced, garlic, zucchini, yellow squash, and 1 small eggplant. All right, now I'm gonna add a pint of cherry tomatoes, a few sprigs of thyme, as well as a bay leaf. I'm gonna basically cook it until the cherry tomatoes start to blister. Now for my low country twist. I'm gonna add my okra. Okra doesn't take long to cook. Had I add the okra in the same time as the eggplant, it would just get really, really mushy. Now I'm gonna add in my shrimp that I have cleaned and deveined. And I'm just cooking the shrimp until it turns pink. All right, the juice of a lemon helps cut the slickness from the okra. Make sure you don't get any seeds in there. That's why I like to do it this way. Ladies and gents, Ratatouille, low country style. Turn that off, bring this over here. Oh, as if this isn't already great on its own, I'm gonna add basil. Vita and Jade will be here soon, and we can celebrate this beautiful journey they're embarking on. All right, let me go get some tissues, as this is gonna be emotional. Lord. For the main attraction, my molasses glazed salmon. So I have 2 beautiful center cuts of salmon here. I'm gonna make this nice molasses soy glaze. It's kind of a combination of like my southern roots and mixing it up with a little Asian flair. Molasses just has that deep, almost like a burnt caramel taste, and it goes extremely well with soy. You wouldn't have think, but that's the thing about cooking. I'm always experimenting in the kitchen, trying to figure out new flavors, and this one was a win. I'm gonna add sesame oil, kind of going along with that Asian theme here. Fish sauce. It is on the salty side, so if you've never worked with it, use a little at a time. Rice wine vinegar is gonna add a little bit of tartness to that. Honey. Between the molasses and the honey, you're gonna get a really nice glaze on top of that salmon, and it's gonna look like, you ever go to a restaurant and you see that, like, oh my goodness, the salmon looks perfect. It's because they use some type of sugar, especially when you're searing or broiling salmon. I'm using 2 cloves of garlic, but I'm also gonna add ginger. I'm peeling the skin with a spoon. Nice little trick I've learned over the years. And I like a lot of ginger, so I'm not gonna skimp on it. Ginger's gonna add that fresh little snap to this. Give it a little mix. All right. And I'm only cooking it till it comes to a slight boil. Then I'm gonna leave it on low until it's time to glaze the salmon. Got my salmon here. Let me give it a little salt on top. And I'm using salmon that has the skin on. There's nothing better than a crispy skin on salmon. Add my sesame oil. I love using sesame oil. Number 1, it has a very high smoke point. And number 2, it's gonna give you a really, really nice nutty flavor. Make sure that gets nice and hot, because I want that sear to be serious. Salmon doesn't take long at all to cook. I would say about 3 to 4 minutes on each side. Once it turns this pale pink here at the bottom, you know that side has started to cook, so it means you can flip it over at this time. Look how crispy that is. That's what I'm talking about. Leave that skin on. A little salt to that, a little pepper. Now I'm gonna work with my glaze. Brush that on there. And because I wanna create a sauce too, pour a little right in here. It's gonna seep in the bottom there. What I like to do at this point, because it doesn't take long at all on this side to sear, I flip it back over and let it continue to cook from the skin side. I can tell if the salmon is cooked by pressing onto it. The firmer it is, the more that you know that it's cooked in the inside. While it's nice and hot. There you go. Catfish Tacos. So I'm gonna start off with a simple marinade. Got about a half a cup of buttermilk, a tablespoon of seafood seasoning, right? And a teaspoon of chipotle powder. Give this a little whisk. Now I have about a pound of catfish that I've cut into little fillets like that. It means just makes it easier to go into the taco. I'm only gonna marinate it for about 10 or 15 minutes. My catfish has been marinating a while in the buttermilk, the seafood seasoning, the chipotle powder. I wanna use the same spices in my dredge. I gotta have my paper bag. So a cup of cornmeal and a cup of flour, all right? Using some of the same spices I used in my marinade. I'm gonna eyeball this, say about a tablespoon of seafood seasoning, a teaspoon of chipotle powder, a little spice, and a pinch of salt. Shake it up. Get my marinated catfish, drop it right in the bag. Want to get some flavor on the inside, also gonna get some flavor on that crust. And you wanna do these in batches because if you put too much of the catfish in this bag, it's gonna get overcrowded and each piece will not get evenly coated. All right, so that is my last piece of catfish. All that's left to do is fry it. I'm using vegetable oil. If you don't have vegetable oil, you can use canola. And I'm shallow frying these in my cast iron skillet. And I'm just frying enough till it gets golden brown. The great thing about seafood, especially catfish, doesn't take long at all to cook. I don't have to flip these. It's submerged in this oil. So when I let it go, get nice and golden brown, it should take about 4 to 5 minutes. Exactly what I wanted. Nice golden brown. This is gonna be super crispy. They're gonna love these catfish tacos. We're gonna have a little light lunch by the creek, so I'm gonna get started on that seafood salad roll. I'm gonna make a shrimp stock. I'm using a pasta pot. I brought the water to a boil. I'm gonna take a lemon, drop that inside the water. I'm gonna also add celery, 1 whole white onion, cut in half, some peppercorn, and heavy pinches of seafood seasoning. It's a stock. And I'm using the shells from the shrimp that I'm gonna cook. Don't discard the shells. The shells have a lot of flavor in them. Some fresh parsley, just to add a little herby flavor to it. Once that comes to a boil, I'm gonna turn it down, remove the contents on the inside, and drop about a pound of local white shrimp in there. You know I love my Charleston shrimp, the sweetest shrimp on earth. We just wanna make sure that it gets nice and opaque. That means that it has cooked. See, no time at all. Meaty, sweet. Now I'm gonna cool it down in an ice bath. A seafood salad roll, of course, has to have some type of dressing or mayo. A half a cup of mayo, good quality Dijon mustard, some pimentos, Southern staple, 2 pinches of seafood seasoning. Give it a mix. I'm gonna also add some celery. I've got some red onion that I've already diced. It's about a half a red onion. I'm also using lump crab meat, very, very sweet. Now the star of the show, the shrimp. So just mix it up. Oh, that's pretty. It looks really good. Got some buns here that I've toasted with lots of butter. I'm gonna take my salad, put it directly in the bun, and I'm not gonna be selfish with this. I'm gonna pile these things high. Oh, wow. Look at that. Gorgeous. Crab mac and cheese. In my backyard, I can walk to my dock and get crabs, shrimp, and if the season is right, I get some fish too. You're gonna get out of here. You can't get any better than that. So I boiled the crabs for about 10 minutes, picked the meat, and now I'm gonna saute it. Putting in about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm gonna add onions and garlic to this. That. And I'm going to saute this for a few minutes until the onions get translucent. Your house is going to smell amazing. So when the garlic and onion have wilted down and become translucent, I'm gonna add in the crab meat, and you want some of the crab to stick to the pan as well. But this thing is so cool. When you're eating the macaroni and cheese and you get that big lump of crab meat, it's like a gift. Now that the crab is ready, and I still got kind of some of that burnt stuff in there that I wanted, I'm going to transfer the crab back into the original bowl that I took it from. And I'm going to use sherry to deglaze the pan, which is just fancy for saying, take the good stuff from off the bottom. So I'm going to use about a half a cup. Woo, baby. You're probably thinking like, this is just some fancy mac and cheese you're making here, but it's worth it. I've kind of combined two of my favorite things, Southern macaroni and cheese and low country style seafood salad. I'm gonna start on my roux. 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm gonna let that melt. I'm gonna also add in flour. That's the start of a roux. A roux has butter and flour, or some type of fat and flour. And I'm gonna whisk in 1 tablespoon. The roux is basically the start of a bechamel sauce, which basically is an elevated cheese sauce, okay? And the reason I'm using a whisk is because we don't want lumps in our roux. You see that color? It's everything from the pan, and as you see, we deglazed all of that brown stuff that normally you would think, oh, it's time to wash the pot. Don't you wash that pot. Deglaze it. And use some liquor to deglaze it. So that looks awesome. Now we're gonna add in a pint of heavy cream. We're gonna start building our roux and our cheese sauce. That's good. Now I'm gonna use about 1 cup of regular whole milk, okay? I haven't added the cheese yet, but just the smell of the sherry and the garlic and all of the stuff that was in the pan that was left, oh my goodness. Now I have 4 ounces of shredded Gruyere, Parmesan, and about 8 ounces of shredded extra sharp yellow cheddar. These cheeses just work really, really well together. You get a good, funky, sharp taste from the Gruyere cheese, and we're gonna leave some sharp cheddar because we're gonna top it with more cheddar. And I'm gonna slide in that Parmesan. Just give it a whisk. 2 teaspoons of dry mustard. Dry mustard just gives us this really great bite. 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. And the smoked paprika gives it a nice little smoky flavor. I'm gonna also add in salt and pepper. Not only are we getting a bite from the mustard, we're getting a bite from the pepper, and I'm gonna bite into this soon. This is just gonna look awesome when we mix it in with the pasta and the crab meat and then top it with even more cheddar on top. I'm adding in some freshly chopped parsley, thyme, and tarragon. And that's just gonna balance out all of the sharpness. I'm gonna let that cheese sauce simmer. I've already boiled 1 pound of pasta. It's basically just 1 box. And I have drained it. I did reserve about a cup of pasta water. I'm not gonna use the entire cup, but I did save a bit because of the starch. It's gonna help as a binding agent to keep the macaroni and cheese together. I mean, it's still a casserole, so you still have to have some type of structure. I am going to add this glorious cheese sauce directly in the pot with the pasta. Ooh, yes. Just give it a stir. And did you forget about the crab meat? I didn't. We're going to add in the sauteed crab meat with the onions and garlic. OMG. If I could, I would just eat it right out of the pot right here. As a matter of fact, I am going to eat it. Listen, I have been starving. I've been at church all day. I need something. Cheese, crab meat, fresh herbs. Oh my goodness. You can't go wrong. I want to add in 4 ounces of cream cheese just to make it a little creamier. Ooh, if your macaroni and cheese doesn't sound like that when you mix it, you've done something wrong. And remember, we had 4 ounces of cheddar we let sit to the side for a very good reason. The cheese, let's give it a nice little crust on top. There we go. That looks delicious. I'm gonna pop it in the oven at 375 for about 10 to 15 minutes or until it gets nice and brown on top.
Is there any more mac and cheese?
I'm making them a surf and turf cheesesteak. I thought, I want to taste the home. Why not combine a Philly cheesesteak with some low country flair? That's why I thought about crab. I think my brothers are gonna really enjoy the steak with the crab meat. All right, I got a flat top here. I wanna douse it with a little bit of oil. I'm gonna add some onions. I have about 2 large onions sliced here. I'm gonna cook these onions down before I add my meat. I wanna also season my onions. Add a little Worcestershire sauce, give it a smoky steakhouse flavor, some soy sauce. While this cooks down, I gotta season my crab meat and make my sauce. I have about a pound of lump crab meat. I'm gonna add seafood seasoning to this. For the most part, I'm gonna cook down that shaved beef with the onions, and right before I put it inside the bread, I'm gonna fold in this crab meat, keeping it whole, so when you bite into this sandwich, you're gonna get big chunks of juicy beef with sweet chunks of crab meat. Oh yeah. Is your mouth watering yet? That's the point. As if this cheesesteak isn't already amazing with that beef and crab meat, gotta make a special sauce to go on top of it. I mean, this thing is flavorful. I've got some mayo here. The great thing about making sauces from scratch, you eyeball it. You taste it and add and take away whatever as you go. All right, this sauce is it's a variation of the sauce that I make all the time. It's called Have Mercy sauce. It's a pretty simple sauce. So I put in a little hot sauce. I'm gonna add some Dijon mustard. Gives it a little tang, that's what I like to say. Some salt and pepper. And I'm going to give it a little taste to see if I need to add anything. I'm ready for this tailgate party. It's creamy, it's a little spicy, it's a little tangy. That's good. All right, so just gonna funnel this in my little squeeze bottle here. So I wanna squirt it on top. My onions are starting to cook down. What I like to do is just to sweat them out a little bit more, is add some water. Mixing them around, heat down a little bit. All right, now I'm gonna add in some shaved beef. Sometimes they have this pre-packaged, but if not, you just go to your butcher and ask them to basically shave some beef for you. Turn my heat back up. I'm excited about this. I have eaten my fair share of cheesesteaks, and I enjoy making them at home. All right, I'm gonna add a little soy sauce, just a little squirts of that. I'm gonna switch over now because I know better. I'm gonna use my spats. You ever been to a cheesesteak place? You always hear this iconic, you know they're doing something magical back there. So I'm only cooking the beef until I don't see any more pink. All right, what I like to do is add some cherry peppers. I love cherry peppers. It's a little briny, a little salty, a little vinegary. This would be a great time to add that crab meat. Look at that, y'all. This is gonna make more than enough, and that's okay. I'm gonna send them home with something. Last but not least, add this American cheese on top. Get that melted down. The only way to go is white American. The crab, the cheese, the seasoning, some of that special sauce, my Have Mercy sauce is gonna go on top. Why not top these off? Why not top them off? This one needs a little bit more loving. Got my sauce, just gonna put that right on top. Look at that. Surf and turf cheesesteaks. All right, guys, I got some cheesesteak with crab meat, and it has cheese and a special sauce.
Awesome. Put your foot in this.
I put my foot in it.
Yeah.
Big toe, pinky toe, all of them. Lena, what you think about that cheesesteak?
It's good.
I see the smile on your face. My mom and our good family friend, Ashley, are coming over to celebrate Ashley's birthday. Ashley's favorite thing to eat is crab cake. So I'm making her a cross between a low country style crab cake and a Maryland style crab cake. So I have some jumbo lump crab here. This is so sweet and velvety and buttery. I love jumbo lump. To this bowl, I'm gonna add some mayo, about a half a cup. A little Dijon mustard. A Maryland-style crab cake always has some type of mustard. A little Worcestershire to add a little smokiness. And 2 teaspoons of seafood seasoning. I'm using about 20 butter crackers, and it's gonna act as the glue to the crab cake. Seal it up, crush them. Add that directly to my bowl here. Now this beautiful lump crab. I don't want to break up the crab, so gently fold the crab. One more thing, forgot my egg. And if you don't have the binder like the crackers or the egg, the crab cake will fall apart. So I like to chill these before I put it directly in a hot pan because I want them to be nice, firm, and sturdy. The thing about this recipe is, forget about all those fillers and go heavy on the crab. So after these set up in the fridge for about an hour, I'm gonna get my skillet nice and hot, add some oil, and fry these on both sides. They're gonna be pretty and nice and golden. I need to get these going because my mom will be here in 5 minutes. So the crab cakes are nice and firm. They set up nicely in the refrigerator. Gotta get my cast iron skillet nice and hot. To the skillet, I'm gonna add some vegetable oil. Crab cakes don't take long at all to cook, about 3 to 4 minutes per side till they get nice and golden. Got that sizzle. I mean, as soon as it touched that skillet, I could smell it.
Oh, hey, that.
Follow the smell.
I
Follow the
smell.
smell.
Ooh.
Can you make the sauce for the crab cake? So it's mayo, some ketchup, some mustard. Got some horseradish in there, a little spiciness.
Okay.
And I'm gonna cut up some chives too. Checking on my crab cakes here. They're nice and golden brown. Just giving them a flip. Can I try it?
Sure.
I trust your judgment, you know, but let me still take a look.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, we're good to go. All right, okay.
Ma, look at this.
Oh, those are pretty.
Look at that.
Yes.
You see the big lumps of crab in there?
Yeah, it doesn't take long to cook at all.
At all. Beautiful. I'm making fried shrimp with my mom's famous French fries, but I'm going to make the seasoning for my fried shrimp. I call this my Gullah seasoning. I'm using a lot of paprika, almost 4 tablespoons of that for the color, smokiness, 2 teaspoons of oregano, 2 teaspoons onion powder, a little bit of cayenne, not too spicy, 2 teaspoons garlic powder. You know what? I love garlic powder. Another little teaspoon. White pepper, thyme, and this Gullah seasoning will go great on poultry. I'm adding some basil. You can also use it on your vegetables. It's universal, and that's exactly why I made it. Gullah is a term used to describe the African American people here in the Low Country. We're a distinct group of African Americans, and our food definitely speaks to our West African ancestry. And I add a little bit of sugar just to balance out some of that cayenne that I use. A few pinches of salt, a few cracks of pepper. All right, that's done. I'm gonna get started on my dredge. Got a bowl for my wet, got a bowl for my dry. I'm just gonna start with 2 cups of flour in my dry, my Gullah seasoning. I'm just gonna use all of the buttermilk. When you dredge, keep one hand clean, keep one hand messy. Drop it in the buttermilk, drop it in the dredge. I can't wait till Mom gets here. She's the reason why I cook. Before I get started, I want to check the temp on my oil. You want to make sure that it's at a temperature between 360 and 375. Be mindful to go one at a time because if you drop it all in at one time, they're going to clump together, okay? Woo! Music to my ears. Don't overcrowd your pot. Otherwise, it will boil over. Move it around. Make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom. And I'm looking for that golden brown color. Not too dark, not too light. That's it. That's the color I'm looking for. That's the firmness I'm looking for. It's ready to come out. And do this fast. Don't hurt yourself, but work quickly. You want a nice, even color. First batch is done. Just in time.
Ooh, let me make some fries to go with them shrimps. What you think?
Remember, growing up, you would make the steak fries. I'm here to assist you in my kitchen.
Okay. Well, we got my seasoning.
My mom has washed 2 russet potatoes, cut it up. She's adding the russet potatoes to the bowl with a little bit of that Gullah seasoning, and she's now adding flour to begin tossing. So the flour is going to give it that nice coating and that crunch we want at the end. Okay.
Okay, you know what? I really, truly need a bag.
This work?
Yes, that'll work.
My mom always used a bag.
Okay, is the oil ready?
The oil's nice and hot.
All right, so I'm just gonna drop them in there and just let them stay in there for about 10 minutes and we should be good to go.
All right, Ma, these look good to you?
Yeah, you can tell because they're like kind of brownish there. They're good, they're good.
They are beautiful.
You know what's good?
What?
Sprinkle a little bit more in this while it's hot on the fries.
Okay, Ma, with the tidbits, Pat's facts for the day.
There you are.
I like it. Shrimp and grits is a staple item in the Low Country, especially at brunch. You can eat it brunch, breakfast, dinner, whatever. We eat shrimp and grits all day long. While my bacon is frying, I'm going to get started on my grits. I'm using old-fashioned grits, 2 cups. Old-fashioned grits are less processed than quick grits, so it takes a little longer to cook. These are the grits that my grandmother grew up on. She still uses old-fashioned grits. I like quick grits, of course, because if you're in a rush, quick grits can cook within like 5 minutes, but old-fashioned grits take about 20 minutes to cook. And the reason I whisk the grits as I pour it in, because grits lump up very quickly. If you serve a lumpy grit to anybody in the South, your name will be the talk of the town. Once it starts to boil, you'll bring it down to a simmer, and if you don't salt your water now, you'll have some really bland grits at the end. Well, you see me over here getting started on this shrimp and grits.
Yes,
I need your help.
Okay.
Okay, just wash your hands.
You got my help.
You smell it all the way down the street, right?
I know.
Can you help me with the,
Of course
the
I
onions?
can. Teamwork makes the dream
I know
work.
that's right.
It smells so good in here, Kardea. This girl is making my favorite.
You know, I was thinking, where do shrimp and grits come from?
Definitely Charleston, but you know, everybody makes shrimp and grits so different, you know. And I think we all just added our own flavor. You have to have fresh shrimp.
How can you eat shrimp and grits without Charleston shrimp?
Girl, I don't care if you got to go out in the creek all day long. I'm telling you, you need fresh shrimp with shrimp and gravy. Yeah, I think people actually want to take the quick way out, but because I love cooking, I like to take the great way out.
All right.
Yes.
Slow way is the great way.
I think we got enough onions before I start boo-hooing in here, girl.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's enough.
Yes.
This pan is nice and brown, so that's gonna give me a good dark gravy. You put that in there?
Yes, I'll go ahead and add that in for you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's gonna make a really good gravy right there. That's actually the biggest key to making it as well.
You gotta get that pan nice and dirty.
Yes.
And I need a little bit of flour. Can you stir around the grits for me too?
I sure can.
Thank you.
Kardea, what kind of grits do you use?
I'm using old-fashioned grits today.
Oh, really?
Using old-fashioned grits, it just holds up a lot better. You know, it's nice and thick.
If the grits is thicker, then I won't need extras.
No, you're right.
I won't need a second help.
Right.
You know?
Because it'll stick to your bones. That's what my girl
I
said.
used to tell my children, honey, it's gonna stick to your gizzard.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Oh, yeah, this is coming along really good. That looks good over there, Kardea.
Yeah, it's coming together.
Okay, look at you.
See, I learned a thing or two. Y'all taught me well.
You did, I'm telling you. It looks really good.
Just gonna cook this down till the onions get a little translucent. And while I do that, can you put a little flour in the shrimp and some salt, pepper, and garlic powder? We like to add flour to our shrimp just to get it a little crispy.
I love brunch. I eat brunch every single day.
And you make a good hefty brunch.
Yes, I do.
You do.
You have some left over for dinner.
Sometimes the oil will cook out of the onions in the skillet. It's okay to add a little bit more. I'm using canola oil. I'm gonna brown the shrimp, and that's where you get the distinguished color of Gullah shrimp.
Did you remember to freeze the ice cubes, the coffee ice cubes? Yeah.
What are we doing with that?
Well, don't worry about that. I just want to make sure that you did it.
Okay, I did it. Start with the grits when you
I sure can.
You know, we can't have any lumps in that grits.
That's right.
Add some water to this pot now. That's when the gravy begins.
I love the sound of sizzle.
With Gullah food and low country food, we like to build layers of flavor.
Yes.
So, you know, a lot of our food, it's a process.
You want to take your time on something like this, you know?
I've always just known how to make shrimp and grits Gullah style, but what do you think makes it Gullah?
The brown gravy. Yes.
Try that.
Girl.
Make sure that brown gravy is right.
I love the onion flavor, the garlic in there. I love it. Now, what's going to really set it off is when you add the bacon. Yes.
Take the same bacon that I use to get that bacon grease in the beginning. All those flavors, the bacon, the shrimp, the gravy.
It's going to really boost that taste.
Everything's ready.
Ooh, that looks so good.
I'm ready to eat. Can you cut up some green onions for me?
I sure can. I came hungry.
Okay.
Like very hungry.
I'll give you a good serving.
Please do.
And look how thick and creamy slides right off the spoon.
Oh, yes. That plate is too cute.
You did good, girlfriend. You hungry?
Do you really have to ask that?
Let's go.
Let's go eat. Can't wait to try this. Party, hey. It's nice and creamy. The seasoning is just perfect.
You
love it.
Crab dip that I'm making with Asiago cheese, some sharp cheddar, some cream cheese. I'm shredding about 1 cup of white cheddar, and I'm all about building flavors, even if it's in a dip. I want to get some of that creamy sharpness from the white cheddar and that nutty richness from the Asiago cheese, and I'm making sure I don't scrape my fingers. Ooh, that looks beautiful. I'm gonna use 8 ounces of room temp cream cheese. If you use cold, you'll get little clumps of cream cheese throughout your dip. You don't want that to happen. 1/2 cup mayo, 1/2 cup of sour cream, and the sour cream is gonna add some tanginess that I think works really well with that sharp cheddar. About that much heavy cream, a tablespoon lemon juice, and that's like 1/2 lemon. Drop in this cheddar and Asiago cheese. I love the smell of fresh crab meat, and I'm using claw meat because I really want the crab to be the star of the show. It's sweet, and it's gonna push through all the sharpness and the creaminess of the cheeses. I'm getting into this now, okay? I'm gonna add in some seafood seasoning. Gotta add a little hot sauce to this. It's gonna be really flavorful with a little kick of heat. Fold it in and see, and this is why I said it was so important to have room temp ingredients. Because look how that's just effortlessly folding together. Okay, next step, transfer it into this 1 quart baking dish and pop it in the oven. Oh, wow. And you know what? I want to add some more cheese on top. Just spread that on top. This looks great. I'm gonna pop this in the oven. I have it preheated to 400 degrees. I'm gonna bake it for 20 to 25 minutes. I think my crab dip is done. Woo! Hot mama! Look at that. The guys are gonna love this. Get into it. How about that crab dip?
It's awesome. We're gonna patent that.